The Wonder Flower is one of the coolest things Nintendo's ever added to Mario, and they threw it into the brand new 2D Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which actually changed how every single stage worked, whether it changed the stage itself, the enemies and characters in the stage, or Mario or the character that you're playing as. It was an item that wasn't just one thing. It didn't just transform Mario for one power-up every single level. It was just like anything could happen. Anything goes with this power-up. Mario Odyssey always felt this way to me, but in a smaller scale, where you weren't transforming the stage as much as you were simply transforming Mario, as you could capture different objects and enemies and completely change who you were. So with these games being so similar, I thought, what if the Wonder Flower was actually implemented within Super Mario Odyssey? So with every single kingdom in the game, I decided to give every single kingdom a Wonder Flower and talk about how it could actually change the kingdom or add some unique property to the gameplay. So with 15 total kingdoms, we're going to be going over every single kingdom from start to finish and talk about how the Wonder Flower could do some really cool things to expand the world and add more gameplay to it. But before we get started, you guys have been absolutely tearing it up recently with likes and subscribes, where we got over 400 subscribers in just 2 videos posted. Before we start the new year, stop what you're doing, leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Super Mario 2D or 3D, Mario in general. And a lot of you guys watching this video right now are not yet subscribed. It'll only take a second. Thank you so much. Let's jump in. The first kingdom where we start our adventure is the Cap Kingdom, and I thought you could get a Wonder Flower that maybe changes the time of day to make it from nighttime to daytime. It wouldn't be a big deal, but what else could happen is maybe all the Cap houses actually start to fly, because we know they're actually airships as well, and they all start to fly up into the air where you can platform off of them to reach the nearby actual Cap City. You can see in the background tons of towers and buildings and apartment buildings and stuff that looks very much like the Metro Kingdom, so maybe there's a little Cap City that we get to go explore in as well by using the floating cap houses that now move thanks to the Wonder Flower. Next up, we have the Cascade Kingdom, and this one kind of was one of the things that made me make this video in the first place, because I've been thinking about this idea for a while now thanks to the T-Rex, but pretty much you would collect the Wonder Flower and it would bring all the fossils to life. Yes, not just the T-Rex, but you could have an area filled with realistic dinosaurs, like raptors, pterodactyls, triceratops, stegosauruses. I mean, you could just keep on going, and maybe Mario could capture all of these, like turning into a flying pterodactyl where he could fly around the area and not just glide like he can with Glidon. He could turn into a brachiosaurus with a very long neck and maybe reach certain trees in order to get extra moons or like a new area or something. It could be so cool. What if it took everything back to the Stone Age, like not just awakening the dinosaurs, but also changing the terrain as well, kind of bringing in more islands and more areas to explore, and also just having a giant dinosaur-themed island, maybe adding a volcano in the middle of it? Oh man, it would be pretty awesome. There's a lot of fossils in the Cascade Kingdom, including the fact that Fossil Falls itself has a giant fossil over the waterfall. So seeing all of it turn back to life would be so cool, and the fact that this is actually a thing in Mario Wonder with one of the Wonder events turning a dragon back to life, this could easily happen. Next up, we have the Sand Kingdom, and the Sand Kingdom already kind of gave me an idea because it feels like there's a Wonder event happening as soon as you get there, because there's ice everywhere, which is pretty mysterious until you find the mysteries underground. But what if we got a Wonder Flower that changed the entire sand region and covered it in snow and ice? And now the sand dunes also are covered in ice as well, and we can skate across them like we could in Super Mario Galaxy. That would be awesome. Something else the Wonder Flower could do is make more pyramids appear or make them go right side up instead of floating and upside down. That would be pretty cool, giving us more places to explore. But something else I thought was having the zombie Toasterenans attack you more. Like there's huge swarms of them instead of just a couple at night, or maybe one giant one that's chasing you across the desert and you have to figure out how to defeat it. Next up, we have the Lake Kingdom, and I thought, what if all the water in the entire kingdom drained? This could then open up new pathways and cave networks underground, allowing you to explore more of the caves and coves within the underground portions, because we can swim down there currently, but imagine if there was absolutely no water, revealing maybe some more creatures and lots of other secrets down there. Or maybe they do something like Super Mario Bros. Wonder where they flip it and put the water somewhere on the ceiling, where you can swim up there and find new paths up at the top, but at the bottom there's no water now, once again with it being drained and new areas to explore. Next up, we have the Wooded Kingdom, and I thought, what if the entire kingdom got taken over over by machinery if you grab the Wonder Flower. Right now, you can already see a lot of the kingdom has this red factory steel walls kind of all around it, and steel plates and screws and bolts. So what if the entire kingdom got developed by this machinery, and there was like working blades and saws that you had to dodge, and a whole bunch of metal everywhere? Like every single blade of grass was now covered in metal everywhere when you collected this thing. Or the opposite happens, where all of the metal goes away and the entire kingdom is all nature now, and natural. Like now you can go up a natural mountain and find more caves and areas to explore. That would be pretty neat. Or maybe some other things that could happen is, for instance, we've seen Torque Drift, which is an alien UFO, come to pick up the flowers. What if there were tons of more of these alien UFOs everywhere and you had to fight them off? Or maybe the entire area is covered in that purple goop that we had to knock away from Spewart. And imagine a level where there's tons of this goop and you also don't have Cappy. Cappy gets taken by that condor bird or something else, and you have to make your way all the way to Spewart without Cappy, and you have to defeat him without him as well. That would be pretty neat. They'd have to change the boss battle a little bit because I believe you do have to knock his hat off in order to damage him, but it would remind me a lot of Super Mario Sunshine. In Pianta Village, there's a mission where you have to get through all the fiery goop without FLUDD, and it's actually pretty cool. So I would love to see a mission like that. Cloud Kingdom was a huge missed opportunity in my mind, and so was other, and we'll get to there in a second. But yeah, Nintendo decided to make some kingdoms just for bosses, and it would have been really cool if we got to explore an actual Cloud Kingdom. After defeating Bowser, maybe a Wonder Flower appears that brings in a super big storm. All the clouds turn dark, and a huge gust of wind blows, and a giant tornado forms in the sky. It's blowing all the clouds around and warping you to a new area, and before you know it, you're face first down in the actual Cloud Kingdom, where there's a giant cloud castle and a cloud town as well, with even cloud civilians to talk to. It would be an amazing thing to explore, and I think it's something that Nintendo should have done in the original game, but maybe a Wonder Flower event could help change that. Next we have the Lost Kingdom. I know this is kind of just taken from the same idea as the Lake Kingdom, but what if we could drain all of the poison and Mario was chucked down into the pit by some enemy, and once again loses Cappy to that condor bird, and Mario has to make his way all the way down in these ruins area, down deep where the swamp used to be, and make his way all the way back up to the top of the cliff where the bird is sitting, which is going to be the top of the mountain where the Lost Kingdom is in the actual game. But with all the poison drained, you're far down deep into a big hole, and it's kind of like a hazy maze cave area down there from Mario 64, where you have to make your way around a bunch of tunneling networks and make your way slowly up the mountain back to the top. Next we have the Metro Kingdom, and I had a million ideas for this one, so please sit back, and I'm sorry for some of the terrible ones. But what if it turns Mario into various different workers around the city, like a construction worker, maybe even a businessman, and puts him like in a business suit, places him in a cubicle, and it's your job to leave work. You have to leave the cubicle, find a way out of the building, and yeah, I don't know. I thought it'd been funny, but okay, let's be more realistic. What if it changes the entire city by fast forwarding it to the future or rewinding it back in time? You can move it to the future where you can have a giant Neo city with like flashing lights and flying cars and everything. It would be so cool. Or maybe an old-time western town where everything kind of goes back in time. There's no cars, it's just carriages and horses now. It would be really cool to see the change up and see what maybe New Donk City looked like before it became a bustling city. Or maybe just ramp up the traffic and have tons of cars moving extremely fast during rush hour, and you have to dodge the cars and watch out, and maybe it expands the city a little bigger to have bigger traffic. But who knows? I really like the time travel thing. I think going into the future or to the past would be really cool to change up the city a lot. The Snow Kingdom, what if all the snow melted and the kingdom is hiding some interesting things underneath the snow, or maybe some mysteries, like we could do like a little murder mystery like we did in Paper Mario the 1000-Year Door on the train, where we had to like uncover some riddles of like there's like a dead body under the snow or something, like a dead Chivarian or something, and everybody's like, how did this happen or something? I don't know. I know that's wacky, but just melting the snow would look cool. See the location with no snow. Or maybe a giant blizzard hits, bigger than the one when we first get there, and it actually completely covers the city in heavy snow, where it actually caves the city in and it drops everyone down into a giant chasm underneath the snow, and you're making your way through ice caves and stuff and through tunnels, helping Shivarians that are stuck and they need your help to pretty much save them all. I know for a lot of these I brought in things with like caves and underground stuff. I just think it'd be cool. I'm sorry, it's just an idea that just keeps popping up in my head, I guess. The Seaside Kingdom is beautiful, but what if it wasn't? What if we collected the Wonder Flower and it actually changed the entire scenery altogether by bringing in a giant hurricane or tsunami storm, making everything dark, eerie, and rainy, and it's bringing in tons of debris from other kingdoms and even old stranded pirate ships that we could explore that come washed in, a giant whirlpool in the middle with maybe a new boss or enemy that's stirring things up, and maybe the storm just opens up new areas for us to explore, whether it's down underneath the water somewhere, or maybe it's, like I said, more pirate ships that are kind of being drug in from the storm, or maybe even giant cruise ships that we can explore as they get washed up. I mean, we already have pirate-themed Goombas, but there's no pirate ships, so it doesn't even really make much sense. But a lot of this actually reminds me of Stormy Shore from Donkey Kong Country Returns, which was a really cool themed level where there was just a giant storm at sea that was just washing all types of debris in, and a giant octopus was trying to kill you the entire time. Next up, we have the Luncheon Kingdom, and something that I thought would be really funny is that they changed everything from the polygonal look to more of a hyper-realistic look. For instance, all the pink lava would be red, and the volcano would be realistic with a realistic mountain and rocks and all of that, and all the food in the pots and all the utensils and even the fort characters will be realistic as well. That means realistic corn, meats, and everything. It's like real food. That would look so goofy in this, and I think it would be hilarious. I mean, we have a realistic city with the Metro Kingdom, so why couldn't they do this? And would it add anything to the gameplay? I'm not 100% sure. Maybe with everything being realistic, it changes some parts of the world and allowing us to get more moons or something, but that would be so awesome to see realistic food all over the place, like a realistic steak, corn on the cob, or even the little tomato creatures are like real looking tomatoes. I think, yes, I love the look of the world already, and I get that's the whole style of it, but it still would be funny to have a Wonder Flower completely change it to realism. And the Ruined Kingdom is the other kingdom that I was talking about earlier that has some of the most potential and just never hits it. It was a kingdom designated for the Lord of Lightning boss battle, and that's cool and all, but I would have loved to explore the kingdom some more. So what if, just like the Metro Kingdom, it rewinds time when we collect the Wonder Flower, taking us back to the kingdom before the destruction, so that way it places us in the middle of the Great War, whether it was with the civilians and the Lord of Lightning or something else that ruined this whole area. I want to see this kingdom when it was a kingdom, when it was completely intact and there was a castle and maybe a town full of people. That would have been so cool to see. So here's a cool one I thought of. You get to the very end of Bowser's Kingdom and you grab the Wonder Flower. It takes all of the little nearby islands that you visited already and combines them into one giant ninja tower, and it places you at the bottom. But the Wonder Flower gives you a samurai sword and turns Mario into a samurai. You can now fight with this thing, and you have to fight Bowser's goons and minions all the way until you get to the top of the tower, where then you would 1v1 duel one of Bowser's biggest samurai warriors or something, or maybe just Bowser himself as a samurai warrior. Something else that could happen is the giant statue of Bowser in the front of the castle could actually awaken, and you have to battle it somehow, either using the Pokio to get up there and start damaging parts of its body or something. But yeah, you just have to take out the giant statue of Bowser's head that then controls and moves all over the place. That would be pretty awesome. Or maybe one after fighting the Mecha Brutal and defeating it, the Brutals actually use a Wonder Flower of their own. It actually transforms the Mecha Brutal, reviving it and making it ginormous. For now, you have to go inside the machine and scale your way to the top, taking it out piece by piece, and also defeating each Brutal member from the inside. Or honestly, even if we didn't go inside, I'd be fine with just scaling a giant Mecha Brutal bot, like we did kind of in Mario Galaxy with Mega Leg, making our way all the way up the legs into the top of it, but this time just using the Pokio in order to climb and scale the giant thing. Moving on to the Moon Kingdom, we could have a giant meteor shower once you touch the Wonder Flower. It will rain down balls of fire and crash into the moon, creating even more craters and holes for us to enter the moon. Once again, going inside something. I know, I love caves, I guess. But you could go inside the moon into some of these craters and find even more places to explore inside the moon and even more secrets to find, which would be pretty cool. And maybe even alluding to like aliens or something, or the Shroobs are in the moon or something. That would have been awesome. But speaking of aliens, what if another Wonder event just caused tons of aliens to invade the moon, and they're all flying around the moon, and there's a mothership floating right above the chapel, and you have to make your way up to the mothership and explore the inside of the mothership and find out who these aliens are. Once again, they could be the Shroobs. I would not mind them doing that again, but it would be really cool just to have aliens invade the moon. Come on. And finally, last but not least, we have the Mushroom Kingdom. And I think the best way to handle this would be to transform the castle back to the Mario 64 version. Now, it will still have the Super Mario Odyssey graphics, but you'll be able to explore more of the castle instead of just the entrance. You'll actually have different doors you can go in that looks just like the one from Mario 64, but in HD. You can go through the various different hallways, there's tons of the paintings that you can look at, and maybe even some of the paintings you can jump through. For instance, maybe the Wonder Flower actually opened up some paintings like Bob on Battlefield, which allows you to explore that kingdom a little bit. That would be awesome to kind of run around and maybe get a couple of moons within that area, or stars in that area. But yeah, or something else that it could do is maybe transform the entire Mushroom Kingdom area to look exactly like the Mario 64 version. Now, you can go into the courtyard in Mario Odyssey and it does transform everything, and there's even like a skin that Mario can wear, but imagine it transforming everything. It like completely transforms the castle, everything that you see, the enemies, the characters, the clouds, everything into the Mario 64 version. Now that would be pretty neat. Now I toss the hat to you guys. If you could implement the Wonder Flower into Super Mario Odyssey, what would you do? What kingdoms would be affected, and what would you do to change the kingdom or maybe transform Mario? Give me your best ideas, and if I get enough comments and also I get enough likes on this video, maybe I'll do a future video including your guys' comments on what you would like to see the Wonder Flower do in Super Mario Odyssey. But thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, make sure you leave a like and subscribe before you head out, especially since most of you watching right now are not yet subscribed, but I'll see you all on the next one. See ya, guys.